go. Changes in latitudes, changes in
attitudes.
Attitudes. There you go. You're not even a parrot head, but Jimmy Buffett. Never mind, parrot head, Jimmy Buffett. But
age limiting.
Our age. So let's go back to that. So, what do you think of that? Because I'm not. Recently, I know a few people that have just probably put the work in, have this and this and that, caught notice, but then when their age is noticed, like because they don't maybe certainly look their age, they get the door slammed on them. Do you think that's fair? If let's say you're 30 years old, like that, what are they limited at? Like 28 or something? It's
probably somewhere around there. Yeah.
All right, so and you've worked hard. It took you all that time to get that good, build up your reputation, put your hard work in, travel the roads up and down, do every shitty show, figure out who you are, and work your way to where you are. Put your work in, and they notice you, they reach out to you, blah, blah, blah. But then when they find out your age, they go, you're too old. What do you think of that? Yeah, we only want former... If you're
former
not
athletes,
you have to be like a former Olympian or former something or something if you're going to be 30 or more. You know,
no.
So do you think that's really fair?
That's crazy. I mean, to a certain extent, I understand a certain age. You're like, I don't know if it's worth keeping you for X amount of years.
30. Hold on.
But 30, that's not old.
So you take a 21-year-old that's immature, and then you spend. Though I guess they're only giving like 3-month contracts now, or 6-month contracts. Is that what it is? 6-month contract? I don't know. They're giving short contracts, but before they were giving like 3 and 4 months and investing all this time and then letting somebody go at 28 and then they go out there and then they're working. But somebody just put all that time in and came out, busted their ass. You're in your prime at 33, you know?
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
So if you did all that and you're ahead of the game and you don't have to train them, why would they slam a door on somebody? Like it's just.
I mean, they're mature. They're obviously experienced. They put the work in. I don't see any reason they wouldn't.
The only thing I could figure is they believe. Well, besides the injury thing, but not at 30. Like if they were like 35, okay, you lost 5 years.
Maybe I feel like 37 and up. I think I can understand, maybe.
I think 35 is a good cutoff for like somebody who hasn't worked for the company. But 30 I think is ridiculous. But I think it's that maybe they worry too that they've gotten too much experience out there in the Indies and they have too much of their own opinion at that point. And they're coming in where everybody else is brainwashed at 20, 21. It's not wrestled. Oh, they don't know anything about wrestling. You walked in the door. And all you know is what WWE tells you about wrestling. That's all you know.
I understand it, but I don't because...
Well, I don't think it's fair at all.
Because if you're already experienced, like you've traveled the Indies, you're trained, that's less work that WWE has to do.
Right, but you have more of an opinion than their opinion, so...
Well, who says that, like...
Hey, listen, you're the same one. I look, and you the other day, you go, I said something about you didn't like everybody's outfits in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Okay? So when I watched NXT, I noticed a lot of the women's outfits were the same. And I also look at the new NXT brand. It looks like Skittles thrown up all over a canvas too.
Oh my God, that's
so I'm thinking they're all doing. It's put in their brain. Well, I don't want to say brainwash, but it's set into play like this. Maybe
This is it. This is what you're wearing. This is how everything is. Yeah.
The NXT brand looks like Skittles. Let's dress like Skittles. Like that's what they think is cool. And that's what they want. And they're trying to like impress the higher powers.
I mean, if that's what they want, but who said that?
All right. So that's these young girls, right? So
yeah.
These young girls. Well, Lita's was like all over the place, but Lita was probably just.
Whatever,
but because she's always been different.
But if you're employed by them, I don't see why you would, because it's your job. You're not going to argue. I wouldn't argue like unless they want me to wear something like super like ridiculous, like super ridiculous, like a tutu or something.
Like so, I don't even know if WWE can survive the cancel culture because they're PG. If they weren't PG anymore, I don't think they would survive it. Like I think they would be taking 1-2s in the eye. They're PG for a reason. But networks is just a good excuse why, but like they wouldn't survive. They would never get away with that Kane sleeping with a corpse in a coffin thing. All these Miss Kitty and wrestling with her titties out and pudding
wasn't
and
there like an Edge and Lita like?
Well, yeah, it's funny enough that there's an Edge and Lita, but they just pushed Edge and Beth on a thing, and then Lita comes back. It's really weird. That's little things. That could be people poking at things there, but who knows? Because when you're so high up in the what was it? Raymond believes in these Illuminati, so they're up there, like the Illuminati's are things. They have a weird sense of humor because they can do things that just makes them laugh in the boardroom, and everybody else is like, "Oh, that's kind of weird," but they don't realize they're up there just laughing because it was their own little joke because they have so much power, but or they think they have power. Well, they do because everybody wants to work there. So.
Of course, yeah, but I mean. Even like back to the age thing, even if like the door for WWE or wherever does get shut on you, there's always other routes to go.
No, I just had this conversation with somebody and I'm like, you already built your brand, keep pushing, and there's so much more. And it's just like I tell you, it's not the end of the world. This is a new era. You're sitting here doing a podcast. I mean, I know we're the tail end of everything doing a podcast. Like it's been, people have already hit this boat. It'll be something new in a week or now, something from now that'll be like hot and running. But you have abilities and capabilities of building your own brand and doing your own thing and building your own self-value and marketing yourself out there to do what you love at your own will and your own choosing, your own... without selling your soul to the devil or
creativity
or laying on an altar for the Illuminatis or something, whatever. You're not sacrificing your self pride and your soul. You just do your thing. So sure, you got to be careful not to be caught up as a lot of people get caught up like which side of the curtain they're sitting on. Are you in the locker room or are you sitting in the seats watching the show? A fan, or you're a wrestler. So you're a wrestler in business, or you a fan that's wrestling, which we're all fans of wrestling. I was a fan. I mean, so I'm not saying that, but you have to observe it like a business and approach it differently and so you got to choose the side of the curtain you're sitting on. Yeah. And unfortunately, with this younger generation, I don't think they know what side of the curtain they're sitting on.
They don't.
My generation, they were sitting on the money side. Yeah? Well, tell me about it. So how much you think I'm going to make for WrestleMania? Yeah, that works. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put a thong on and give you a stink face for sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it comes down to business. Like, hey, I'm going to feed my family, this and this and that. This other generation is like, it's not my generation, so I have a hard time grasping it. So I'm going to say I don't comprehend everything that's going on.
I think
it's your generation. Why don't you help enlighten me? You are 21 years old, young in this world. Why don't you help me? And I know that you've had a lot of my influence on you. So take my tainted, bitter, saltiness, over the hill bullshit, old school, walked 5 miles through glass, barefoot, and snow to get to school attitude of mine. And tell me what you think.
That'll hurt.
Yeah, right. Well, I had shoes. They were Bobos and fish heads, though. I didn't have fancy shoes. I don't know if you know what that is. Do you know what a Bobo is or a fish head?
No.
Well, back then they had stores called Zayres, and Kmart had them, but they were like generic shoes. They kind of looked like these Nikes. Okay. Probably what Nike started out as before they put a swoosh on them and designed them to be like. But they would be just plain generic shoes with a point, right? That would be fish heads. They looked like a little fish head. Yeah.
Like a point, like.
A point with a little piece of plastic that went around like a little arrow. So they were fish heads. And then Bobos were the round ones, kind of like... Bobos would have been like a Converse, a cheap Converse.
Okay.
That weren't Converse, though. And they hurt your feet really bad. Those were Bobos. They were like...
So I don't want a pair of those.
You don't want Bobos? I only know Bobos or fish heads still exist. Wait, somebody had one on the other day and they tried to tell me it's an after branch. It's something, but...
I'm so going to look those up after this.
Bobos or fish heads. Raymond, do you know what Bobos or fish heads are? Okay. It might be a hood thing. I don't know. It might... Bobos, yeah.
I can't say I understand this generation. Yeah, going back to that.
But to be fair, my mom gave us $50 for school clothes, right? That's why I started working so young. They go, here's your 50. It might have went up to 100 after a while, but it was 50 each. And we could go to Kmart or Zayres.
I know Kmart.
Okay, they were back around Zayres, or it was called Richway before they became Targets. Richway. But that 50 wouldn't go very far, so we chose to get dropped off at the Salvation Army, and because that 50 would go a long ways. Mm-hmm. So, and you could pick up a used pair of Nikes for like $3 or $4 if you did it right. And you can go to school and act like they were new, but they weren't. You'd have to go out and spend another like $1 or something back then on shoe polish and like get them whitened back up, get them unscuffed. But yeah, but that
sounds good to me.
But this is my generation where we had to figure it out. So I went out and I figured out how to make money. I was cutting lawns, doing this. I was roofing. Spent my summers cropping tobacco, baling hay, so I could get my own clothes, do this and that. Where I believe this generation, nothing against some of the generation that's listening, is totally different. They think like, nah, you owe this to me. I'm not like this. I don't know how many kids are sitting at home on their mom's couch now. And I don't want to hear this shit. It's too expensive to start a life. But you can start a life any way you want to start a life. You have.
I'm trying.
You're trying, right? But the point
if you choose to,
because you got my old school rubbing off on you.
Little bit, but I mean, I don't think that mentality really should have changed from your generation to mine. Because if you want to do something, like, you do it, you make it happen. Right, you don't owe me anything.
Blame the parents, then. Maybe it's us parents.
Yeah,
maybe it's the parents. It's like I blame people that run wrestling schools. They're not teaching them the right way.